Likes, shares, follows, how do those affect real estate? Our next guest is the head of one of the most powerful public relations companies in Texas. She's going to tell you how PR, influencers, and social media can have a dramatic impact on real estate marketing. I'm Uri Mann, the host of the Uri Mann Show. Today we're lucky to have Miss Karen Henry. She's joining us here in the studio. Karen Henry leads one of the most powerful PR companies in Texas with offices in many cities. Karen, thanks for joining us on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
I'm so pleased to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Can you tell us a little bit what really is public relations? A lot of people are they say, hey, they talk about PR generally, but what is PR and what does the PR boutique really do?
Well, the public relations has evolved over the past 20, 30 years since I've been in it. Usually, in the beginning, it was more getting earned media placements in publications, newspapers, magazines, before the digital age.
So you would want to get your story out in a newspaper, and you used to hire a public relations firm to do that.
Yes, and we would craft a pitch to the media, to a journalist, so that they would, in the hopes that they would interview our clients or write a story about them that's earned media as opposed to paid media, which is more advertising.
Right. People would think of, hey, instead of me spending money on an ad that would be put in the newspaper somewhere, I'm going to hire a public relations firm like your company, the PR Boutique,
Correct.
And get the word out.
Yes, but over the past 20, 30 years, it's changed to involve social media. It's become such a huge way to market, but it's more organic. It's not like paid. And then do influencer programming, which is actually having all these people that have a lot of followers on Instagram or any kind of social media platforms actually experience whatever the product or the experience is, so that they write about it and they follow it. It attracts all their followers, and because they're more powerful almost than the written word. And then the other thing are having events. That's another key component to influencer marketing.
Okay,
and
so
PR.
getting the word out to the media so that you can get some sort of kind of free press.
Yeah.
The influencers, managing influencers, getting the influencers to show up, and then also social media, just managing social media.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's more of a strategy behind social media. It's not just posting photos and silly things. It's more we try to make it so that there's something important about each one of our posts with a
Right.
call to action to it, to
Okay.
try to attract the end user to experience, buy, or attend whatever we're promoting.
Okay, so for example, I know that you're involved in doing PR or managing PR for large master plan communities. For example, at Lagomar, you're
Yes.
doing all the PR for the Lagomar community and the Lagoon Fest, Texas attraction. Can you tell us kind of what you're doing there specifically, which helps those entities?
Okay, we write media alerts about
Okay.
any kind of performances that they have at Lagoon Fest. They have a floating stage there, so we like to talk about the performers that are coming, and that would be covered in all the publications.
So it's a media alert that then gets distributed
Yes.
to the
And
press.
it usually is a who, what, where, why, when,
Okay.
with a little color involved in it to try to attract the media to write about it. And then, in addition to that, we post about it on the social media platforms. Usually, it's most is Instagram and Facebook. So, I mean, if it's something more business related, we like to post it on the LinkedIn pages. But for events and lifestyle stuff, it's mainly Instagram and Facebook. And we talk about that through our posts, and we try to plan them out a certain amount of time ahead so people know that it's coming, and there's a link and a call to action to click on it to buy tickets.
Understood. So your efforts are in a way when let me ask you about these influencers. How is it possible to get people who have followings to show up to help sell real estate? I mean, that's really what you're doing. You're
Correct.
getting these quasi famous influencers on Instagram and Facebook to show up at a facility and say good things about it. And they're having a great experience. For example, at the Lagoon at Lagomar. And how many of these influencers do you think you've sent to Lagomar, for example, in the last since you've been involved in the
I
project?
feel like we've sent at least 40.
40. Okay,
maybe
so 40
more.
Yeah.
We've been doing it since the springtime.
Right.
So, and how that affects your business is that we have a contract that we agree with, the people at Lagomar to make sure it's agreeable to both parties. And they might have one drink or 5 drinks. It just depends on what we decide together. And then we
Okay.
present it to them. And it's a free experience for them.
Right.
And so they take their cameras or their iPhones or whatever, and they video it and post it on their social media, tag Lagomar, tag Blue Lagoon, tag PR Boutique, so that we can, I guess you call it exponentially, send it out to not just to their followers, but to our followers and the Lagomar followers as well.
So then,
it's
so
like
the coverage can become exponential because they're
Yes.
basically they're posting to all their followers. They're encouraging them to write comments underneath the videos, and that way you're getting exposure. For example, for the restaurant, the Blue Lagoon Bar and Grill at Lagomar, or the Master Plan Community, or Lagoon Fest Texas. So that's a pretty interesting way to get more exposure. Do you think it's effective? Like, how many people can you reach with the influencer program?
Well, it depends on how many followers those influencers have, but it also depends on how many followers Lagomar, Blue Lagoon, Lagoon Fest has. Because the reason why we want to post it to PR Boutique is because we want to be able to use their videos to post on those other platforms as well. So it can be, I think we've had almost 1 million views or likes on just one post.
Wow.
It doesn't always happen that way. It
Right.
just depends on how powerful that post is. And it can be even something that you don't expect, like somebody splashing into the lagoon and making a big wave. It could be anything, or having a wonderful cocktail out by on those white sandy beaches.
Right.
It just depends on how it affects the what it ends up looking like and how we can promote it out through all the other platforms as well.
Now, do you have like a stable of influencers that you can
Yes.
count on?
Yes.
So, or are you? So, do you also reach out to new influencers, or how do you
Always.
develop that? Because I would say a lot of PR companies are out there. They offer. I've not seen many that offer this sort of very robust influencer program. So, how do you create? How did you create that, and how do you manage it?
Well, a lot of times because we have so many different industries that we work within, like restaurants, hospitality, real estate, nonprofits, events, not to mention products, that we've developed a list of influencers that we always are working with. And so when we say to an influencer, and I'm saying it changes all the time, we have people emailing us now that say they're influencers, and then we check them out and make sure that they really are, that they really have a following, and what their posts look like. Because we, like, say for example, it's a master plan community. That's a little bit harder to get influencers to go to, because unless there's an activity.
Right.
But the one thing good about Lagomar is that there is an activity there
Right.
that they can participate in. If it's just a walkthrough of a home or something like that, that's a little bit more difficult
Right.
to get. So I think because we've been in the business for so long, and over the past 10 years, influencers have become such a major part of PR that we've developed relationships with all of them.
Right.
And the girls that work in the PR Boutique office in Houston, Austin, or San Antonio, that's what they do. They actually socialize with the influencers.
Okay. So
And-
you have offices in 3 cities.
Yes.
Okay,
Houston, Austin, San Antonio.
Houston, Austin, and San Antonio. Okay. And so do you are you managing influencers in all these cities?
Yes.
Okay. And you do it outside of those cities as well?
Yes. We have influencers in Dallas. We have national influencers we work with.
Okay.
I mean, some of them charge though.
Right.
So that's
It
how
could be a barter program, or you might need to pay them to show up.
both.
Right. Okay.
Some barter, like if it's a restaurant or an event like Lagoon Fest, they take their friends with them. And so that's kind of like Lagoon Fest will actually host them and give them whatever we agree to ahead of time, whether it's food, drink, a cabana, a ride, or any kind of like activities out there. That's barter. But then sometimes the ones, they want to be paid. But in the end, if you think about weighing a $2,500 payment to an influencer against a print ad for $5,000, which one do you think is more effective?
Right. If you can get 1 million views of whatever they
Yeah,
post.
that's much more effective these days.
Right. Yeah, and then you can really get people to come out and eat in a restaurant or come out and attend an event because the influencer was there.
And they write about it. They talk about their experience. And, we have an agreement with them that once they attend an event or a restaurant or whatever, they need to write about it on their social media within a week.
Right. Okay. So
That's kind of an agreement we have with them.
understood. So the nuance of managing the contracts and how you get them to show up and what you ask them to do, that's the special sauce that PR Boutique has that others don't. I mean, nobody knows how to approach them the right way, how to convince them to do this and make them show up.
Exactly.
There's a lot of work that goes into this.
Well, there's a lot of behind the scenes work, a lot of nurturing, a lot of nurturing on both ends. We have to nurture our clients as well as the influencers. And, we've had some experiences when like a client would not honor a particular thing that we have to backtrack and try to get the influencer not to be upset with us
Right.
and to still actually write about it. Or if the influencer goes out there and acts like an idiot or does something that's obtuse, then we have to nurture our client back to understanding that we're really out there trying to get the best, product for the results for what all our hard work, if that makes sense.
Right. And now, so aside from these influencers, you also manage the social media content of your clients. Do you do that that's something you mentioned you also do?
Yes.
Okay. So what is
That's another huge part of actually PR now.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of time.
Takes a lot of time.
We need great images. We need to go out to our clients regularly, once a month, to capture the images. Like I
So
said
you've
earlier,
done that at Lagomar, for example. You sent
Yes.
out staff to
Right.
take photos, to create reels, and then and I've seen then you've taken that that information and you've put it on their website and on their Instagram account, etc. And then you also are managing. Are you actually writing the content that's underneath each image
Yes.
and picking what's
Yes.
hashtagged? Okay.
Yes.
Very
We write it and then we send it to our clients at least 2 weeks before the month begins.
Okay.
Just so they can approve it. And there's sometimes they want to change something, like say that they have an event that they haven't told us about. And we've already, done the September calendar, for example. And then they say, oh, well, can we replace that post on X date with this post?
Right.
So it's really important to us that our clients approve everything we do, because we don't want to have we don't want to misrepresent our clients. And so it's very important to us to have great communication, have biweekly calls, to send a lot of reporting ahead of time and a lot of things that you need to approve. Everything from a press release, a media alert, or even a hashtag. Those are all important to us that our clients approve them before we actually move forward with it.
Okay. So you send that before. So this is you've built an incredible company. How many people work for you now?
Right now I have 7 in Houston, 6 in Austin and San Antonio.
Okay, and you've not always been in PR. You did some interesting things before. I read that you worked for Sylvester Stallone. Is that true?
Well, I worked for his manager.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, back in the 70s.
Okay, and
Yeah.
how did you get into PR, or kind of tell me the kind of pivotal time in your life when you decided to start this company? Did you work for somebody else in PR and then decide to start your own PR company?
Yeah, well, right out of college, I worked for a public relations company in my hometown of Beaumont, Texas.
Okay.
And I was
So
just...
you're here from the Houston area.
Yes.
Can we consider Beaumont, Houston
Yeah,
area?
we can.
Okay, very good. Okay. Yeah.
It's 90 miles southeast.
That's
But
right.
yes, it's part of Houston.
Yeah.
I worked for them back right out of college, and then it was advertising and PR, and I did a lot of work. I don't know if you remember when there was the bicentennial. Maybe a lot of y'all weren't born then.
No, I
but
remember
was
it. Yeah.
1976.
That's dating me. I remember. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah.
I was in charge of all the entertainment.
Oh, okay.
And the governor of the state came down and he said it was the best bicentennial event he went to in the whole state of Texas. So that made us feel really good. Then fast forward about 10, 15 years, I started working for a PR firm, a girl that moved to Houston from another area to start a PR firm in Houston, and we were just hospitality. And we did hotels and spas and restaurants. And then fast forward another 10 years, I opened the PR boutique with my business partner, Gretchen Bryce. And she got married and moved to Austin, hence the Houston, Austin,
Oh,
San
I see.
Antonio.
Okay,
So that's how that formed.
So she's still involved in the company?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And, one thing I always like to ask guests is if they could look back 20 years at their younger self, if they had any tips or tricks or any guidance or advice that they could give themselves, what is it if you looked back and thought, and you could, that you would give yourself any advice on anything that you would recommend?
Well, for me, it'd have to go back maybe 40 years. when I was starting my career. I think that was like in the '70s when the women's lib movement was really exploding. And I'm not a women's libber by any stretch of the imagination, but I would say to anybody in their 20s or early 30s, do not be afraid. You've got to pick something that you love and is fun as much as it is lucrative. And I think a lot of people are afraid; they don't feel like they can. For me, it was a matter of necessity. Um, I needed to start. I needed to make money because I was divorced with 3 children,
Okay.
and I needed to make money. So I lucked out and got in with this girl, and then my public relations company exploded into what it is today. But even 40 years ago, I would like to tell young women, especially, to pick a passion and go for it, not be afraid about it. Just even if if you start out making zero money, don't stop. Just keep going for it. You have to work. You have to work hard. You cannot expect people to give you things.
Yes, and
And
yeah, I mean, I agree with that. And it's very clear to your point about pick something you're passionate about. You're very passionate about your work, and
I
it
am.
comes out,
Yeah.
and you see the quality of the work. And I know Lagomar, Lagoon Fest, Texas, the Blue Lagoon Bar and Grill. Those are your clients. They're really lucky to have you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
We're lucky to work with them. And I was just talking to somebody recent or just today. He said it was a banner year for Lagomar Lagoon Fest. And I hope that we had a small part in that.
Absolutely. I heard that they had over 100,000 people in the middle of the summer. They're going to break all the records this
That's
year.
awesome.
150,000 people, and you had a big part of it. So that's hats off to you. And
Thank you. Well,
I'm sure everybody watching this, if they want a great PR company, they're going to be reaching out to the PR boutique.
well, thank you, Uri. I think you're an amazing guy. No, really,
Well,
I love what you're doing.
well, thanks.
And thank you for letting everybody be able to tell their story.
Thanks for being on the show.